The iron gates of the Harrington estate stood 12 feet tall, gleaming in the afternoon sun. Naomi Clarke stepped out of her modest sedan, smoothing down her dress as she approached the intercom. Today was supposed to be simple. It was her daughter Maya's 7th birthday, and the court had granted her visitation rights. Nothing more, nothing less. She pressed the button. Static crackled before a voice answered. State your business. This is Naomi Clarke. I'm here to see my daughter, Maya. It's her birthday. Silence stretched for 10 seconds, then 20. Finally, the voice returned, dripping with disdain. Mrs. Harrington says you're not welcome on this property. Leave immediately, or we'll call the police. Naomi's jaw tightened. She pulled out her phone, displaying the court order. I have legal documentation. Open this gate, or you'll be in contempt of court. The intercom went dead. Minutes passed. Then, the front doors of the mansion opened, and Victoria Harrington emerged, her silver hair pulled back severely, her expression carved from ice. She walked down the marble steps with the confidence of someone who had never been told no in her entire life. You have some nerve, Victoria called out, her voice carrying across the driveway. Coming here, to our home, as if you belong. Naomi held her ground. I belong wherever my daughter is. The court agrees. Victoria reached the gate but didn't open it. She looked Naomi up and down with unconcealed disgust. My son made a mistake marrying you. We tolerated it for far too long. You were never one of us, never could be. Look at you, standing there in your department store dress, thinking you had rights to anything in this family. Behind Victoria, Derek appeared, tall and weak-shouldered, unable to meet Naomi's eyes. The man she once loved, the father of her child, said nothing in her defense. He never had. You took my child from me, Naomi said quietly, her voice steady despite the fury building in her chest. You used your money, your lawyers, your connections. You painted me as unfit, unstable, dangerous. All lies. We protected Maya from your influence, Victoria sneered. She deserves better than a mother who comes from nothing, who is nothing. The words hung in the air, ugly and raw. Naomi felt them trying to burrow under her skin, the way they had throughout her marriage. But something had changed in the 2 years since the divorce. She found something stronger than their hate. You're wrong about me, Naomi said, her voice calm and clear. And soon, everyone will know exactly who the Harringtons really are. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. She turned and walked back to her car, ignoring Victoria's mocking laughter. As she drove away, she allowed herself one small smile. The pieces were already in motion. They just didn't know it yet. 6 months later, black SUVs rolled up to Harrington Industries headquarters at dawn. Federal agents poured out, badges flashing, search warrants in hand. Employees arriving for work stopped and stared as agents filed into the building, boxes and equipment in tow. In the executive suite, Victoria's assistant burst through the doors, breathless and pale. Mrs. Harrington, there are federal agents downstairs. They're seizing documents. They're talking about fraud, embezzlement, dozens of charges. Victoria's coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. That's impossible. Call our lawyers. Now. But the lawyers couldn't stop what came next. Boxes of financial records were carried out. Computers were confiscated. By noon, every news station in the city had cameras pointed at the building. The Harrington name, built over 3 generations, was crumbling in real time. Derek tried calling his contacts, the judges and politicians his family had donated to for years. None of them returned his calls. The evidence was too damning, too public. There was no saving them this time. 1 week later, Naomi walked through the front doors of Harrington Industries. She wore a navy suit, her hair pulled back, her expression unreadable. Reporters shouted questions, cameras flashed, but she moved through them like water, flanked by her legal team, Victoria and Derek were waiting in the main conference room, their lawyers beside them, all of them looking diminished somehow, smaller than they'd seemed before. "What are you doing here?" Victoria hissed. Naomi set her briefcase on the table and opened it, pulling out a thick folder. "For 2 years, I worked with federal investigators. While you were busy keeping me from my daughter, I was busy documenting every illegal transaction, every stolen pension dollar, every fraudulent tax filing. You stole from your own employees, Victoria. You built this empire on the backs of people you considered beneath you, and then you robbed them blind." Derek's face went white. You did this." "I did what was right," Naomi replied. "Something none of you understand." She slid another document across the table. Victoria picked it up with shaking hands, scanning the pages. Her face went from pale to crimson. "This can't be legal. You can't just take everything." "The court disagrees," Naomi said. "Your assets have been seized to pay restitution to your victims. The estate, the company shares, the offshore accounts you thought no one knew about. And I, through a trust one established, have purchased controlling interest in what remains of Harrington Industries. I also bought your home at auction yesterday. You have 30 days to vacate." The room fell silent except for Victoria's ragged breathing. Derek slumped in his chair, broken. Their lawyers stared at their notes, unable to offer any comfort or solution. "You destroyed my reputation, kept me from my child, and tried to break me because of the color of my skin," Naomi continued, her voice never rising, never wavering. "But you underestimated me. You thought I was nothing. You were wrong." 3 months later, Naomi stood in the garden of the estate, watching Maya play. The courts had reversed custody after the truth came out. Her daughter ran to her, laughing, "Free. Mommy, is this really our house now?" Naomi knelt down, pulling Maya close. "Yes, baby. It is. But it's just a house. What matters is that we're together." She'd established the Clarke Foundation with part of the settlement, dedicated to helping victims of workplace discrimination and supporting families torn apart by corrupt legal systems. The Harringtons faced years of legal battles and possible prison time. Victoria's breakdown during the trial had made headlines, but Naomi didn't feel victorious. She felt relief. Justice, real justice, had been served not through revenge, but through truth. She played by the rules they tried to bend, and she won. As the sun set over the garden, Naomi held her daughter and looked toward the future. Not with bitterness, but with hope. The world was changing, slowly but surely. And she helped push it forward, one difficult step at a time.